Hey, welcome to This Year in Stupid for 2021. I think a lot of you didn't believe I will do it, but you know what? I am going to do it. Even though I may not cover some of the more sensitive topics because YouTube lacks sensitivity training, I think I can still do a good job and cover some of the more interesting events that have transpired this year. And for this week in Stupid, which should come out on a Sunday, it's probably going to come out on Monday or Tuesday because I need a little bit of time to prepare, considering that I'm making this segment instead. So without further ado, let's talk about some of the more interesting things which happened this year. They're not in any particular chronological order, and they're not in any particular order of stupidity. They're just in the order that I recall them. And because my memory functions better when things happen more recently, let's talk about something which actually happened yesterday. Ontario was blessed this year with politicians that did not sleep. They worked tirelessly, night and day, taking away your liberties in order to provide you with safety. Without these politicians, you would have been sick by now. You'd have been sick and covered with pustules like a medieval peasant. But because the politicians took care of you, Nurgle couldn't descend on Ontario, especially not on the New Year's Eve. Why? Because they decided to send the army of inspectors in order to enforce a righteous political ban on the New Year midnight bars and restaurants. So if you are celebrating New Year's in Ontario, the establishments will not allow to sell you alcohol after 10 p.m. and they will have to kick you out by 11 p.m. Why 11 p.m.? Because it is known, Khaleesi, the virus, it comes in the dark. It comes after you at night.
He'll come stalking us at night.
Said to sacrifice our children to his monstrous appetite.
So it's time to take some action, boys. It's time to trust the policy. I'm pretty sure that the politicians in Ontario worked hard. They really begged the scientists, like, come on, is there nothing we can do? I mean, midnight is the most important hour of the New Year's. We need to do something, but the scientists said, nah, we can't keep people safe. We cannot. That is the most important hour of the virus. And the politicians with tear in their eyes were like, how can we tell this to the people? How can we announce that they will not be able to celebrate New Year's? Damn you, science, why are you so cold and heartless? But alas, the politicians had to do what they needed to do. It is a great burden upon their shoulders, the burden of keeping you safe. A similar burden is also shared by the politicians in the UK. And while this news might be from last year, we actually heard about it this year. You see, when you couldn't celebrate Christmas, when you couldn't go out party, because the politicians in their great burden have told you that you should not go out party, it turns out that the politicians themselves went out to party. And what I think happened, and no one listens to me, but this is why I have this channel, in order to fact check, in order to bring wisdom and knowledge onto the masses. The politicians, they tried to run an experiment. They were like the guinea pigs. They were like the canary in the coal mine, where they risked their own safety by going out to party on Christmas, just to see what happens. And if they are all right, they would allow you to party this year. And it turns out that they were all right. And because they were all right, you get to party this year. You should thank the politicians in charge, because they have allowed you, they have given you this gift, this wonderful gift of being able to party. So do not let this gift go in vain. If you're in the UK, close your eyes and imagine you're a politician in power during 2020 and you can go out and you can party. That is, of course, if you're not a man by the name of Juicy Smollett, who instead of going party, he might actually go to prison. And this is because he lied to the police. Now, in case you forgot what he lied about, let me remind you the story. Now, the story of Jussie Smollett was very, very believable because this was happening in Chicago. And we know that Chicago is a very racist city. Like when you think about Chicago, you think about white supremacists and Republicans and right-wingers. And you have a person like Jussie Smollett getting out of his apartment at 2 a.m. to buy a Subway sandwich. Because we know rich people, millionaires like Smollett, they can't afford to phone a delivery service to bring the food to them. No, they just go out in the middle of the cold, in the middle of the night in order to buy the sandwich. And of course, but what made the story even more believable is the fact that we know homophobia and racism never sleep. They are always awake. They are always in the lookout. And as such, Jussie Smollett was accosted by two individuals who started shouting at him for being gay and being black in Chicago. Something which I am led to understand is very rare in the red heart of America, where the Republicans are getting most of their votes from Chicago. But luckily, they didn't try to mug Smollett. It wasn't about the money, apparently. It was about sending a message. So Smollett managed to call the authorities. He managed to get to the police. And thankfully, America has a very vigilant media. The mainstream media industrial complex were on the lookout. They're always vigilant for such things. They had Chicago in their sights for a while now. So they took up this case and they started raising awareness.
From the hit show Empire was attacked and beaten early this morning in Chicago, and police say it could be a hate crime.
There are many indications of a hate crime here. They are looking for two suspects who were apparently wearing Make America Great Again hats.
We have a media that's saying it's a debate whether or not what just happened to Jussie Smollett is a hate crime. It's absurd.
You know, Jussie Smollett had a noose on his neck just this week.
And the media has really cast so much doubt on his story, which I find so personally offensive, that a gay black man is targeted and then suddenly he becomes the victim of people's disbelief.
Yeah. He said his attackers hurled racial and homophobic slurs at him. And this is America in 2019.
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication. It never happened. It never happened. This one was invented by a writer.
Now, I wanted to show you a clip from an interview which unfortunately got flagged by the YouTube copyright system. And I tried to trim it several times. I tried to work on it, but the system is too strong. It is Tutsuy. Which is why I will just tell you what the interview is about. You have this gentleman who is the only black juror who presided over the Smollett case, and the media wants me to be very aware that he was the only one. And they took an interview from him, and he said that he doesn't understand why the actor did it. He's a multi-billion-dollar actor. He's already famous. Why did he do what he did? He says that none of the story adds up. He points out how everything seemed so ridiculous to him, and all you need is a little bit of common sense in order to realize that the story was ridiculous, and that the jury never disagreed with the verdict. They just wanted to make sure that they're very meticulous, but they weren't in any disagreement or anything. So he just cannot fathom why Smollett did what he did. You know what? I think I know why he did it. But this is just my opinion. So I may be wrong, okay? I'm not an expert. I'm not a mind reader. I'm not an empath. But I think I know why he did it. Because I understand the mentality of decent people. You see, he probably knew that the pandemic is coming, and he didn't think that the lockdowns are enough. He didn't think that he's going to be kept safe during this difficult time. So he went, okay, the solution to the pandemic are lockdowns. Which is the institution that is renowned for locking people up the best? Which is the institution that can keep people the safest? And he looked towards the American penitentiary system. And he thought, you know what? That's where I can be safe. And I'm going to get free food. I'm going to get free healthcare. I'm going to get free protection. I'm going to get free everything. That is what I need to do. So this is why I think he did it, is to keep himself safe. So he doesn't actually go out and party and then get sick. That is my opinion. I'm not an expert. Again, so if I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit it. It's just my hypothesis, because I can't contact Mr. Smollett and ask him why he did it, but that's what I think. Now, while we are on the subject of trials, last year we didn't have just one that the mainstream media industrial complex got wrong, but we actually have two. And the second one being... Bruh, $2.09 a gallon? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Isn't it a lot better that this year the gas prices went through the roof? Because people should buy less gas to pollute less. The gas prices need to be so high that only the rich can afford them. Only Democrats should have gas. What is this thing? $2.09 a gallon? Unreal. Unfathomable. Why is gas still legal in the United States? This actually got me a little bit happy that I noticed that the US is now on the correct track. Zero emissions, zero economy, build back better. Now, there was actually another trial. Yeah, the last year, you can mark it the year of the trials, and this lady stood trial, but there's nothing to see here. Okay, like all the other trials, they got media attention. This one, not so much, because it's not so important for the public and may offend your sensibilities. So, you know what? Let's just move on from this. Let's talk about something that's more uplifting, something that should make the heart pump in any American patriot, and that is their president. Their president has stated to the world, most specifically to Vladimir Putin, that the adults are back in charge. And it is absolutely true. I mean, when you look at the American leadership, it has never been stronger. It has never got people more energized. It has never got people more politically active and engaged, because yes, the adults are at the helm now. So let's see what the adults have accomplished during this time. First of all, we noticed that in Afghanistan, there was a little bit of a blunder. Because the United States, they decided to retreat from Afghanistan, which is something that most people agreed with. Overwhelmingly, people were happy with this decision, but most people are used to being children. They're childish, and they're not used to how the adults do things now. And apparently, when the adults retreat, they first withdraw the soldiers, then they withdraw the civilian personnel, and only after do they take away their weapons and toys back. And this might seem weird, this might not seem very conventional, like most militaries would first withdraw the civilians and then they would take the military hard gear. And after that, the soldiers would pull back. But you see, what we are witnessing here is maybe from The Art of War by Sun Tzu. This is how the adults do things. They try to confuse the enemy. Like, the enemy doesn't know how to react if you confuse them. If you do moves that they don't expect on the board, then the enemy might get a little bit panicked because they're trying to think 2 steps ahead of you. But how can they think 2 steps ahead of you if you don't know what step you're going to take next? So this was an excellent and brilliant maneuver by the adults who are in charge. And I think it was highly effective, considering that the Taliban were probably very confused when they realized all of this hardware is now in their hands. So we look at around 43 MD-53 helicopters, 33 UH-60 Blackhawks. Like, from what I understand now, the Taliban, they're actually in the top when it comes to military powers that have the most Blackhawks. They're somewhere within the top 20, if I'm not mistaken. A-29 light attack planes. These kind of look meh. I don't know, I mean, it has a propeller. It's a plane with a propeller. Not as cool as the C-130 Hercules. Look at it. Hercules. This looks expensive, though. The C-130 Hercules. And then you have the MY-17 helicopters. How much do these cost, huh? Well, who cares? It comes from the U.S. taxpayer money. I mean, who respects the U.S. taxpayer? You know what? You don't even need him. You can print money when you ran out of U.S. taxpayers. It's just like, build back better, another $1 trillion. Costs nothing, costs zero. Just put it in. Put it in there. Zero accountability. Who cares? The adults are back in charge. And speaking about the adults back in charge, another very peculiar military blunder seems to be with the fact that initially they said that they drone striked a couple of bad people. And I'm like, really? Okay. But then there's like rumors, like conspiracy theories, that maybe they didn't get the correct target. And then it turns out that, yikes, that is actually true. You see, what's interesting is when the adults weren't back in charge. I mean, I don't know if Obama is considered to be part of the adults. Like, he would do these things as well. He would strike, and he might get collateral damage. A wedding, a funeral, but at least the bad guy was there. Like, that was the argument. It's a price that has to be paid in order to assure American safety. But now, apparently, the guy wasn't even there. Like, they literally just stroke people that didn't need any striking. And if I'm not mistaken, it was actually their guy. Like, it was a guy from the region that was working for the U.S., which would beg the question from conspiracy theories, like, what did he know? Like, why? Huh? Like, if you're a more cynical-minded person. But anyway, right. Let's not make any baseless conspiratorial accusations. Let's look at the matter at hand. So, you have people from the intelligence and the military which did a mistake. Let's compare this to, I don't know, a police officer which would fire in the air and accidentally injure a civilian. Right? Because bullet goes up, bullet goes down, right? So, complete accident. Wouldn't he be punished for this? Wouldn't he go to jail? Wouldn't he lose his job? The answer is yes, of course. I mean, if you do this, it's a crime. But no one was disciplined for this. I mean, it's just an oopsie. You know, they're the adults back in charge. They're not the gods back in charge. I mean, gods don't make mistakes. Adults are human, and they make a mistake here or there, you know, and the American people forgave them. The only person that did get punished, though, was a soldier who spoke out against this and demanded something you should never demand from the adults, and that is accountability. So the soldier demanding accountability, he was punished. He was being applied a correction. But everyone else involved, look, they're sorry, it happens. And they promise it will never happen again, so that's good enough for me. Now, I do have to say, I really love this U.S. president. I never seen a better leadership at the helm of the United States in my entire life. And I think Joe Biden absolutely deserves to be on the $1 million bill. If you don't know what I'm saying, well, look at the inflation. It's skyrocketing. The $1 million bill might eventually come when they build back better. I mean, they're printing money like crazy. So at this point, it wouldn't surprise me if they start making the $1 million bill. I nominate Joe Biden for that position. I mean, look, this is exactly how I would picture him. With his back turned on the $1 million bill. And, you know, the reason he keeps turning his back at the cameras is because the reporters are baffled. Like, he goes there, he says the message, and the message is so clear, so well understood that no one has any questions to ask. So the reporters are like, just baffled, like, wow, I never seen a politician explain things so clearly to me. And then they realize, oh, we should stop the camera because he's already leaving. I mean, they would allocate time for questions and answers, but because he explains it so good, there's just no need. So the foreign policy is working really well with the adults back in charge. The economic policy is doing even better. Now, the only problem that people are complaining about are the ones who voted for the adults to take away their student debt. You know, because they were children, they didn't know what they were doing, so they took a loan, and now they want the adults to take the loan away from them. But they didn't get the message. The adults are back in charge. And the adults want you to grow the fuck up and pay your own debt. Okay? Sorry, no refunds. Learn how to properly finance your cash. Don't just look at the adults to keep giving you money, okay? The adults have more important business to talk about. Like, for example, banning the gas pipe, which was coming from Canada into the United States, and then begging Middle Eastern nations to sell more gas to the United States because the prices are going up and the cost of living is going up. But you know, like adult stuff, I could go on for an entire day just focusing on what the US administration has done. But I think we should move on because we're going to get into 2022 by the time I finish just going through half of the things. So it will be very interesting to see if they manage to do so much in 1 year. What are they going to do next year? I am definitely looking forward for that. Now, you know how some people just want to grill? Some people just want to be left alone. They just want to grill and just focus on grilling. Well, apparently there are some people that just want to drive and focus on driving. And unfortunately, one of these people goes by the name of Brandon, who just wants to drive his race car. It's really what he wants to. He just wants to drive his race car. But sponsors are dropping. People don't like him anymore, and he doesn't know why. He just wants to drive his little race car and win competitions. But no, apparently, I guess like what the media would call is that they are concerned. The media is very concerned right now that people would watch Brandon race and they would say, let's go, Brandon. And apparently, because of that, Brandon has a difficult job getting sponsors right now. He's got a difficult job just doing his dream, which is racing a car. So I am looking forward next year to hopefully see Brandon fulfill his dream of winning competitions again and having people cheer his name for that. But what I'm not looking forward is getting my news from CNN. You see, CNN is a very prestigious organization. It likes to lecture people about morality. And because they are so busy lecturing others, they don't really look inwards. Now, Elon Musk has said on Twitter that he's not perverted enough to appear on CNN. So you might be wondering, like, what exactly is going on? What does he mean by this? And it's very difficult to talk about it on YouTube because even Tim Pool is trying to tiptoe around the algorithm. You see, there's a bot that triggers if you say specific words. But let's just put it this way. The Chomo News Network is trying to compete with the Catholic Church, not for the humanitarian award. They are trying to compete with the Catholic Church at moralizing people and telling them how to live their life. That's true. But there's also other avenues that I would say CNN and the Catholic Church have together. So there were a couple of incidents which came out this year alone, which should raise a couple of questions. But you know, like I brought the clock. I brought the clock specifically to reset it whenever something came out from the Cuomo Nepotism Network, and the clock broke. Like, it broke the clock because I kept rewinding and rewinding, and, you know, that poor clock, it has a fragile mechanism behind it. And at one point, I think, like, one of the springs broke. I'm not a clock expert, I don't know, but I kept resetting it over and over to the point where I heard a bing, and now the clock doesn't work anymore. So it's going to be very difficult to use it next year in order to see what is happening with CNN and keep tally on it. But it is what it is. You know, I'll try using a more different approach, like maybe an agenda or something, and I will put like one line whenever another CNN anchor does something naughty. But, you know, I think it's worth mentioning because it happened this year, and we're going to look into the next year. Very interested in getting more morality and wisdom from CNN, definitely. Alright, and that's about it from the year where the adults are back in charge. There's other news, and I know you guys noticed that I avoided a particular subject, but we're going to be talking about it in my live stream. You know, I can't show all my cards. I need to hold some things close so that we can talk with people in the chat and also engage with the audience a little bit more. So if you guys want to see me talking about the extras, you're going to see that on the New Year's live stream. Unfortunately, I don't know the exact date when I'm going to be uploading this because, believe it or not, there's actually a lot of editing to be done with these videos. And, well, I have to go with my wife to celebrate New Year's as well, and I also have to do the New Year's live stream. So, and I also have to do This Week is Stupid. So it's going to take me a little bit longer than usual, but when it's done, it's done. And if the dates don't match, you will know why. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section or in my live stream right after this. Take care.